goes.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's automatic.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Does it read AI? Oh, no, who's here? And Kaʻo's here as well. Okay, so I guess people are like just coming in. And so I think we can get started. Hi, Kaʻo.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Hey, Shane,
Welcome.
nice to see you.
Hey, you too. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so to begin with, I want to kind of introduce Keep Calm because we have some new folks. So Keep Calm, it's a nonprofit, mental health nonprofit, and so we provide resources through different formats. For instance, like this workshop, we are collecting a network of professionals, um, and sometimes they provide us with like tools and templates to help people within like through mental health, right? And my co-founder is Kaʻo. Hello.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here. My son's running around. I'm watching him. He'll probably pop in here, but I've worked remote for all of the pandemic and up until recently, and so I know it comes with a lot of stress. I have two of my folks on my team that work remote, Shane and Alema. Alema's joining from Hawaii, which adds additional stress. He's up 3 hours early. And my cousin Josh, who it's his birthday today, so he also works remote.
Nice.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Josh.
Awesome. So I'll hand off to you, Hawa, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you very much. And Alex, if I can have you introduce yourself, and then we can just get started after that with the session.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I'm actually wearing a Polynesian hook, Alema.
Nice,
My
nice.
favorite things. Well, hello, and thank you all for being here and for inviting me to participate in your sessions. My name is Alex Howson. I've worked remotely for almost 20 years. I was a trauma OR nurse a very long time ago, about 100 years ago. I worked as an academic for about a decade where, there was a degree of remote working back in the UK. There was often a lot of freedom and flexibility for people to work at home. But of course, that whole ethos has shifted enormously. For the last 20 years, I've been running an independent writing business from my home office. Um, and I train medical writers how to specialize in developing continuing medical education content. So all the work that I do is, from this space. I'm very familiar with the challenges that come with remote working. And so I'm very excited to share some of the strategies that I recommend. I'm also a registered yoga teacher. I specialize in well-being practices for writers and for supporting people who identify as women through the peri to post-menopause transition.
Thank you very much, Alex. And with that being said, I think we can go ahead and start with your presentation today.
Okay, so it's less of a presentation than suggestions for practices that we can do in home office, remote spaces, wherever we're working. As I said, I've kind of worked from a home office for 20 years. So I'm going to share with you some physical practices, some breath-based practices, and some, let's call them business strategies, to help you think about how you protect your space. I'm going to move my microphone just ever so slightly. How you protect your space, your emotional, mental, and physical space, your social space as well, when you're working remotely. It is interactive. I'm going to keep asking you questions. Don't feel obliged to respond out loud. You can just answer the question for yourself in your head. That's totally fine. You can pop an answer in chat if you want to do that, or unmute, raise your hand, whatever you feel kind of moved to do. But I'd like us to start with a kind of baseline practice. If you work in education, if you work in training and development at all, you know how important a baseline evaluation is. And so that's how we're going to start today. So I invite you to get into a comfortable position in whatever you're sitting on. So I have a seat with a chair with a back. So see if you can press the small of your back into the back of your chair. Your feet are flat on the floor. And let your sits bones just kind of ground into the chair. Let your belly be soft here. Let your shoulders relax away from your ears just a little bit. You can keep your eyes open, and at any point you can turn your camera off when we practice these exercises. I'll always invite you to turn your camera back on when we're chatting with each other, but don't feel that you have to be performing publicly here at all. And just let your breath get slow and easy. And some of you might be familiar with body scans. There are many different types of body scan. We're going to start with a simple body scan, which really just involves noticing. Noticing the surface, the soles of your feet as they press against the floor, or maybe just resting gently against the floor, the ground beneath you. Perhaps noticing how your calves feel, your knees. This is a very physical body scan. Noticing the touch points of your body against the chair beneath you. Noticing how your shoulders feel. Cueing into any tension or tightness. Cueing into any spaces or places of softness in your body. And we're not judging or commenting. We're simply noticing, taking in information. Noticing how your jaw feels, your tongue, your eyes and your sockets. The top of your head. Just stay with your breath for 3 more rounds of breath here. Noticing anything else that works its way into your awareness. Perhaps your to-do list. Perhaps some other sensation or emotion. And then wherever you are in your breath cycle, just empty out all your air, just breathe out. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let your belly fill. Let your rib cage move. Draw the air all the way to the crown of your head. Take one more sip of air. And then sigh out with an open mouth. HA. Just let that go. And take a little inventory of what popped up for you, what you noticed. And as I said at the top of our session, if you want to pop what you noticed in the chat or share with us out loud, all well and good. But noticing for yourself is the important thing here. I always notice just how busy the chatter is in my head.
I felt very relaxed, and I probably should have a to-do list, but um, one didn't pop in my head, so I'm still relaxed.
Well, that's good. Let's see, something in the chat here. I noticed I didn't get enough sleep last night. Absolutely. When we take these pauses to intentionally cue into how our body feels, we often become aware of lots of things that we're just keeping below the surface. And there are all sorts of reasons we do that. Stress is one of them, especially when we're working remotely. We're trying to keep on top of deadlines, timelines, all the pressures that come with working with a remote team, not knowing whether people are doing what you're asking them to do, not knowing, when you send out those emails and you don't get an immediate response, not knowing if the client is ghosting you, all these sorts of things. When I focused on my breathing, I noticed how much it helped me stay present in the moment. And my anxiety kicked in that I'm being watched. Yes, and this is definitely a reason for turning your camera off if you prefer to do that. And for all of the practices that we're going to do this morning, very early in the morning for some of you, you don't need to close your eyes unless that feels good for you. So do feel free to turn your camera off. So starting with a baseline is really helpful because it helps us to cue into an idea that, when we're working remotely, when we're running a business remotely, um, whether we're working for ourselves or working for somebody else, sustainability isn't just about the business itself or the work itself. It's about us as a personal practice. And in order to kind of maintain that sense of sustainability, we want to be focusing on some physical things, some emotional things, and some social things. The upside of working remotely is that it does bring, a certain amount of freedom. That probably differs whether you work for an employer or whether you work for yourself, but it can also feel very isolating, very draining, and very boundary blurring. Challenges that come up include, I don't have to tell you this, isolation, maintaining those boundaries, interruptions in particular, if you share household space with other people, maybe not even having a dedicated workspace and having to move your way around your living space or go into cafes or libraries or other public spaces to do your work. Procrastination, not wanting to, not feeling able to address the tasks that are in front of you, and keeping up with, we live in a very meeting driven culture, that meetings that often seem pointless and a waste of time and deadlines. So we have this feeling of always being moving, always pushing through, always driving forward. When we work remotely, when we work as freelancers in particular, there are some common traps like over delivering. We put a lot of ourselves into our work, and that's probably changing generationally. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. I'm a tail end of the baby boom, so technically a boomer, but with a Gen X sensibility. But Gen Z, Gen Y, millennials shifting their kind of approach to or orientation to work. And personally, I think that's a good thing. But the broader kind of Western culture is still very much focused on work as a core identity, work as something that defines you. And so we can get pulled into that. And that shows up in over delivering, undercharging, especially if you're a freelancer, feeling that you're constantly having to hustle to get work, to do the work, and other things like poor client fit. If you're working as a freelancer or as an independent, it can be really challenging to find that match between the work you want to do, the people you want to work with, and how you want to work. And all of these contribute to our physiology, how our body feels, how our body responses, and can really exacerbate stress and move us into a feeling of constantly being stressed. So, you know, working remotely, it can really contribute to a sort of stress-driven environment for us, for sure. And these things show up in our bodies when we're feeling stress, when we're feeling tapped out, when we're over-delivering, undercharging, all these things. Headaches, gut issues, discomfort in our hips, our knees, our shoulders, our spine, our arms, if we're doing a lot of keyboard work, wrists, hands, fingers. And we might just write those off as, yeah, comes with the territory, but I want to invite you to reframe that, to think about that in a different way. We don't have to accept in any way that kind of physical discomfort or emotional discomfort, feeling reactive, feeling anxious. These are part of our survival responses, which are influenced not only by the work, but obviously our childhood, traumatic events, our upbringing, all of these things that really kind of shape how we respond to stress. But there's a way to manage these things. There are lots of ways to manage these things, and also to kind of put the brake on that feeling of being chronically stressed, to mitigate or relieve tension in our bodies. So we're going to start with focusing on some physical things. But before, you know, I share some of those practices, I'm curious what your response is to what I've just said. Does it resonate with you? Do you have a different perspective? What's going on?
I can go. So for me, what I struggle with is like my anxiety, but it's slowly decreased, right? And so like in certain areas where I feel it kicking in, be it like being remote or in person, like my body just tightens up and like my stomach as well. It just tightens up. It just tells me like, okay, just freeze. And I mean, I just never know what to do. But then I started learning about this whole breathing technique thing. And so I think what you said kind of like helps me put everything together because everything is just like it's like I don't want to do anything that's going to bring more attention to my anxiety because I feel like people are actually watching me be anxious and it's going to get worse. Of course, it's my brain telling me that, right? So it's like a lot of things just tightens up. I can feel my hands about to shake, and so like I hold it tight. That way, no one notices.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely recognize that, and thank you for sharing that experience. I'm sure it's common, not only in this group but amongst lots of. I know it's common amongst lots of people, and we're definitely going to do some things that can help there. And it's also important to recognize, of course, that anxiety is, you know, tied to lots of different things. So what I'm suggesting are not cures, but they are strategies to manage anxiety in the moment, manage physical discomfort. And whoever said in the chat, you know, cultivate a sense of presence, because a lot of anxiety is tapped and is kind of tied into anticipating a future that you can't quite see or get your head around. So let's do some kind of physical stuff. You know, as I mentioned, you know, a lot of these challenges show up in our bodies in headaches, neck and shoulder tension, back pain, wrist stuff. So get into that comfortable seated position. It shows up as an intense tiredness when I don't want to do something. Yeah, that's a really interesting example. It's definitely your body telling you telling you something. And the challenge there, I think, for many of us is, do I try to energize myself, or do I interpret that signal as it's an opportunity to take some rest? And it's interesting that you interpret the tiredness as not wanting to do something, or tying that as not to something you don't want to do. Definitely something to unravel there. So getting into that kind of comfortable position, we're going to start with our neck. So just bring your chin to your throat. So this is a pretty intense stretch. One of the things that happens, of course, you know, we've got our heads down a lot. We get tech neck. We're looking at our phones. Here we are deliberately activating the muscles in the back and the sides of the neck. So take a breath in. And as you breathe out, pull your chin a little closer to your throat. So you're really starting to feel that nice, I hope it feels nice, stretch at the back of your neck. And we're going to introduce some movement here. So as though you were drawing a smile across your collarbones, start to shift your chin over to one shoulder. Your gaze can follow if your eyes are open. Just moving your neck as far as feels comfortable, and then slowly coming back to center and over to the other side. So this is a slow movement. And as you move, you're going to feel the sensations in the back of your neck. Might be right into the top of your back. Perhaps your gut's already contracted. You can let your belly be soft here. We're just focusing on the back of the neck. And again, this is a nice active stretch to take some of the tension out of the back of your neck. And it's also giving you information about where the tension is showing up in your body. So tucking your chin into your throat, maybe just doing that one more each side. And then bringing your head back up to the center and pausing for a moment, just noticing how that feels. And maybe you want to move, maybe you want to stay still. Stay still, notice that. What does your body want to do here? Well, focus on the sides of the neck here. So draw your right ear to your right shoulder. You can stay right here. This might feel enough. You're starting to get into the side of your neck here. Make sure your chin isn't jutting forward here. Your ear is kind of lining up with your shoulder. You can bring a little pressure here if it feels okay. Just gently resting your wrist on the top of your head. So you're using gravity a little more to increase that stretch. And use your left fingers and press them down toward the floor. So now this is a really active stretch through the left side of your shoulder. And breathe in and out through your nose. If it gets too much, you can always let go of the pressure. Just let gravity on its own do its work here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Get your hand and press your head back up to center. And just pause here for a moment. Let your left arm relax. Breathe in and out through your nose. We'll do the other side. So drawing your left ear to your left shoulder. And this side will probably feel different. So maybe you want that pressure, wrong hand, that extra support. Maybe you don't. Just make sure that your chin isn't kind of jutting forward here. You want your ear in line with your shoulder. And then your right fingertips pressing down toward the earth. So you're drawing your right shoulder away from your right ear. And breathe. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once again, using your hand to bring yourself back up to center. And just pause there for a moment. Maybe give yourself a little wiggle here. We're going to focus on our shoulders. You know, involuntarily, we are often we shrug our shoulders. I can't speak this morning. I'm going to slow right down. We often shrug our shoulders, right? It's a kind of involuntary reflex, but you can really kind of exaggerate that when you feel tension starting to build in your shoulders, especially as it meets your neck and the top of your back. So exhale out all your air. As you breathe in, start to draw your shoulders up toward your ears. You're just moving your shoulders here. Your neck is going to start to disappear. Your shoulders keep traveling. You're trying to get them as close to your ears as possible. Take a breath in, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then slowly exhale, let your shoulders melt away from your ears. This is just a slow, it's called paradoxical stretching. So those points of tension in our bodies, we can exaggerate the tension and then let it relax. And then press your shoulder blades down your back. So now you're exaggerating the movement of your shoulders away from your ears. We're going to do that 2 more times. So as you breathe in, squeezing your shoulders up towards your ears. And then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until you can't squeeze anymore. Your neck has completely disappeared. Take a breath in. Beautiful. And then exhale slowly. Just let your shoulders melt away from your ears. Your shoulder blades melt down your back. And just pause for a moment, maybe take a couple of breaths. We'll do that 1 more time. Notice what's going on with your gut. You can let your belly be soft here. Let's do that 1 more time. Inhaling, pulling your shoulders all the way up to your ears. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze until you can't squeeze anymore. Take a breath in. Exhale, slowly release. Relax your shoulders. And just let yourself pause here for a moment. Notice how your shoulders feel. My guess is maybe a little bit of that tension that might have been there at the beginning of our practice feels less intense. Maybe it's disappeared altogether. Hopefully, feeling something a little bit different. All right. Let's focus on our arms here. So bring your arms out to the side. I don't know, my hands have disappeared off the screen. You can't see my hands either probably. So I'm going to bring them in a bit, but your arms are out. And fold your thumbs underneath your fingers and press your knuckles down toward the earth. So you're going to feel, oh, okay, I thought this was for a whole hour. Thanks for letting me know. You're going to feel a stretch across the backs of your hands here. So just take a few breaths. This is really nice. If you're doing a lot of keyboard work, you're kind of stretching out the tendons and the ligaments in the top of your wrist, top of your hand here. Take a breath in. And then bend your elbows and bring the backs of your hands in towards your rib cage. Relax your fingers here and let your elbows press down toward the earth. So you're really pressing the backs of your hands into your rib cage, and you're going to feel a stretch in the back of your hand here. Just a slightly different location in your hand. Keep breathing in, breathing out. And feel your rib cage moving here, and then just release. Bring your arms out in front of you. This time, the same thing here. Tuck your thumbs underneath your fingers and press the pinky side of your hand down toward the earth. So this time you're getting a nice stretch across here. We don't often think about this part of our body, but it can get really challenged when we're doing a lot of keyboard work. Just feel that stretch. Keep breathing in and out through your nose. For 3, 2, 1. Alema, you're waving. Do you have a comment?
I was just saying goodbye to Chris.
Oh, okay. Excellent. And then just give your wrists a shake. You can start to flick them as though you're flicking water off your fingers. This is just a nice way to get your fingers moving in ways that are outside of that repetitive movement when we're doing a lot of keyboard work. And then let your fingers float down towards your thighs. We'll just pause there for a moment. We'll do a couple of breathing practices that help us. So we've been focusing on kind of physical tension, setting boundaries around noticing and managing where tension shows up in our body. We're going to focus now on some emotional practices, or practices that can help us mitigate or regulate how we're feeling in the moment when we're about to go into that meeting that we don't really want to do, when we have to send an email to a client or to someone on our team that is a little bit tricky. All those things that can make working remotely challenging. So finding that comfortable seated position and just start to become aware of your breath. You might focus on the temperature of the air as it moves in and out through your nose, the tip of the nostrils here, noticing whether that temperature feels cool or warm. Notice the air as it washes over your throat, into your lungs. Noticing where you feel the movement of your breath in your body. Maybe that's your lower belly. Maybe that's your rib cage. Maybe it's further up your chest. So just noticing here. Now you can stay right here. If you were to do this practice alone, simply setting a timer for 3 minutes and noticing your breath, how it feels in your body, this can help you just find a little bit of a reset before you have to do something challenging. It's simple, it's straightforward, but you can add layers here. So one layer might be to bring some movement into your hands. So just letting your hands rest, the back of your hands rest on your thighs, and start to open and close your fingers. And then connect your breath to that movement. As your fingers open up, breathing in. Breathing out as you close your fingers. Just letting the backs of your hands rest on your thighs. Finding that movement, opening and closing your palms. Breathing in, fingers open. Breathing out, fingers close in toward your palms. And you can do some noticing here as well. Just the sensation of your fingertips touching the skin of your palms. Feeling the stretch sensation as your fingers open. You can exaggerate those feelings, those sensations as much as feels good to you. And you can stay right here. Or you can slow your breath and slow the movement of your hands. Sometimes it's easier to slow our breath when we coordinate that with movement. So breathing in, fingers opening, and breathing out, fingers closing. Finding a rhythm and a cadence that works for you. Trying to move slowly and breathe slowly. For just a few more rounds of breath. And then wherever you are in your breath cycle, empty out all your air. Take a breath in, slow breath in. Feel your belly move, your rib cage move, your collarbones separate just a little bit. Take one more sip of air and then exhale, HA slowly. Just pause for a moment. I see we have 2 minutes left. Just pause for a moment. Notice how you feel. We're just triggering our parasympathetic nervous system here to lower our heart rate, tell our brain that we're in a place of safety. And this can help to relax us and do whatever that thing in front of us is that we have to do. Write that email, talk to that client or that team member. And notice how you feel. Do these seem like practices you could integrate into a workday?
Yes, for sure. So when I was practicing this, at first my mind was racing, but as I was like focused on my brain and on my breath, I felt like my thoughts settled down. And then I guess I feel calmer and more centered, and the tension across my shoulders and all across the body. It was different on the right and left side, but I feel like
Yeah.
more relaxed.
That's
So
good. That's good. I mean, these are definitely practices that you can use in the moment, but the focus is on practice. The more you practice these types of techniques, and there are all sorts of classes and YouTube videos and things out there, and I'm happy to put together a kind of a resource list for you. But the more you practice these techniques, the faster you return to that sense of calm and and hopefully relaxation as well. So, it's definitely an ongoing